Dear listeners, thank you for your incredible support in helping us reach 1,000 subscribers. We're now aiming for 2,000, so please support us by subscribing and helping us reach this milestone. Now let's start the story. My daughter told me I wasn't her real father. She said, "My other dad is better than you." So I stopped acting like one. They didn't expect what was coming. I never saw it coming either. That night, Lillian shattered my world. 16 years I'd raised her, 16 years of late nights, packed lunches, and arguments over homework. I wasn't perfect, sometimes too quiet, sometimes too strict, but I thought I'd done right by her. That night, though, she looked at me like I was nothing. Her words hit harder than any fist could. It started over something stupid she'd snuck out again, probably to meet those friends I didn't trust. Too much attitude, not enough sense. I caught her sneaking back in at midnight, trying to be quiet like I wouldn't hear the creak of the stairs. "Where were you?" I asked, standing in the living room with my arms crossed. My voice was steady, but inside I was boiling. She rolled her eyes, that teenage defiance flaring up. "None of your business," she snapped, tossing her jacket onto the couch. "You're not the boss of me. While you're under my roof, I am," I shot back. "You don't get to disappear and not tell me where you're going." That's when it happened. Her face twisted, all that pent-up anger spilling out. "You don't get it, do you? You're not even my real dad. My other dad is better than you. Way better." Her voice cracked on the last words, but she didn't back down. She stood there, chest heaving, daring me to argue. I froze. The room went silent, like the air had been sucked out. My real dad, other dad? The words spun in my head, jagged and sharp. I looked at Samantha, sitting on the couch, eyes wide. She opened her mouth, then shut it, saying nothing. That hesitation was like a knife to my gut. 16 years, and she couldn't even deny it fast enough to make me believe her. "Lillian, go to your room," Samantha finally muttered, her voice small. Lillian smirked like she'd won and stormed upstairs. I didn't move. I couldn't. My hands clenched into fists, but I didn't know who I wanted to hit, Lillian, Samantha, or myself for being so blind. "You going to explain that?" I asked Samantha, my tone low, dangerous. She fidgeted, picking at the hem of her sweater. "She's just mad, Paul. You know how kids are." "She didn't mean it, didn't she?" I stepped closer, staring her down. "Because you didn't exactly rush to correct her." Samantha flinched, but didn't answer. That silence spoke louder than words ever could. I turned away, my mind racing. Another dad? Who the hell was she talking about? I'd been there since Lillian was born, diapers, fevers, first steps. If I wasn't her real dad, then what had I been all this time? A placeholder? A fool. I didn't sleep that night. I sat in the kitchen, nursing a cup of coffee that had long gone cold, replaying every moment I could remember. Samantha's late nights with friends, the way Lillian's eyes didn't quite match mine. I brushed it off, told myself it didn't matter blood or not, she was mine. But now I wasn't so sure. Around 2 a.m., I heard her voice drifting down the hall. Lillian's door was cracked open, and she was on the phone, whispering but loud enough for me to catch it. "Yeah, I told him," she said, her tone softer, almost proud. "He doesn't even know what to do. You're so much cooler than him, Dad." She said it again, and it wasn't me she was talking to. My stomach twisted. I moved closer, peering through the gap. She was curled up on her bed, her phone glowing against her face, smiling like I'd never seen her smile at me. "I can't wait to meet you for real," she added. "Soon, okay?" I stepped back, my heart pounding. Whoever this guy was, she believed he was her father, and he was close enough to meet her. I didn't know his name, his face, nothing, but I knew one thing: he'd gotten into her head, and she'd just kicked me out of it. The next morning, Samantha acted like nothing had happened. She made breakfast, chattered about work, and avoided my eyes. Lillian came down, grabbed a piece of toast, and didn't even look at me. I didn't say a word. What was there to say? She'd drawn a line, and I wasn't on her side of it anymore. After they left Samantha to her job, Lillian to school, or wherever she went these days, I went into the living room. There was a photo on the mantel, one from years ago, of me, Samantha, and Lillian at the park. She was 6, grinning with missing teeth, clinging to my hand. I picked it up, ran my thumb over the glass. That girl was gone. The man in the picture didn't exist anymore either. My jaw tightened. Fine, I thought. If she didn't want me as her father, I was done acting like one. I set the photo down, face first, against the wood. They didn't know it yet, but something had shifted in me, something hard, something cold. And whatever came next, they weren't ready for it. I stopped talking after that night. Not out of spite, not at first, just because I didn't know what to say anymore. Lillian had ripped something out of me, and Samantha's silence had let it bleed. The house felt different, like I was a tenant instead of a father or husband. I went through the motions: work, home, sleep, but I wasn't really there. Lillian didn't care. She came and went like I was invisible. No more arguments, no more curfews. She'd stroll past midnight, headphones in, phone on, and I just watched from the couch, saying nothing. Samantha noticed, though. "You're letting her run wild," she said one morning, stirring her coffee too fast. "She needs boundaries, Paul." She made it clear I didn't get a say. I didn't look up from my laptop. She's got her other dad for that. Samantha stiffened, but didn't push. Good. I wasn't in the mood for her excuses. Work kept me sane. I'd been an accountant for years, crunching numbers for small businesses, tracking every penny. It was boring to most, but I liked the order of it. That week, though, my mind wandered. I kept seeing Lillian's face, that smirk when she threw those words at me. My other dad is better. Who was he? The question gnawed at me, and late at night, when the house was quiet, old memories started creeping in. There had been a stretch maybe 10 years ago when Samantha and I barely spoke. She'd been distant, always out with friends while I stayed home with Lillian. I'd found a receipt once a dinner for two at a place we'd never gone together. I asked Samantha about it, and she laughed it off, claiming it was for a coworker's birthday. I believed her, because I wanted to. Lillian was my world, and I couldn't imagine losing her. But now I wondered. I started digging not into Samantha, but into him. Whoever this other dad was, Lillian knew him, talked to him. I remembered that phone call, her voice soft and eager. I didn't have a name, but I had something better instinct and a knack for following trails. At work, I'd caught clients hiding cash in fake accounts. The principle was the same here: people leave traces if you know where to look. I waited until Friday night. Samantha was at a book club, or so she said, and Lillian was out again. I grabbed my laptop and started with what I had, her phone. She'd left it charging once, and I'd seen a name pop up. Jackson. No last name, just Jackson. It was a start. I logged into our family plan online and pulled the call logs. There it was, a number she'd called half a dozen times in the last month, always late at night. I ran it through a reverse lookup. Nothing official, just a prepaid burner. That alone made my skin crawl. But I kept going. I cross-referenced the area code, found forums where people swapped info on shady numbers. One post caught my eye: a guy complaining about a Jackson who'd charmed his daughter, promised her a modeling gig, then vanished with $5,000. No proof it was the same guy, but the pieces fit too well. I dug deeper. I found a news article from a few years back: small-time con artist Jackson Reese, arrested for fraud. The mugshot showed a man in his 30s, all charm and sharp edges. Was this him? I couldn't be sure, but my gut said yes. Lillian came home around 1 a.m. I heard her footsteps, then her door shut. I waited, then crept down the hall. Her light was still on. I pressed my ear to the door. "I know. I miss you too," she was saying, her voice low. "School's dumb anyway. When can I come see you?" A pause, then a laugh. "Yeah, he doesn't even care anymore. You're so much cooler." My blood ran cold. She was talking to him again, and she sounded happier than she'd ever been with me. I backed off and went to my room, sitting on the edge of the bed, staring at the wall. This Jackson, whoever he was, had her hooked. And if he was the guy I thought he wasn't just after her admiration. Guys like that prey on kids, on families. I'd seen it in my work: fake invoices, sob stories, anything to bleed you dry. Samantha got home an hour later, tiptoeing like she thought I was asleep. I wasn't. I lay there, eyes wide open, thinking Lillian was in deep, and this Jackson was dangerous. I could feel it. Part of me wanted to storm in, shake her awake, and demand answers. But she'd just pushed me away again. She didn't want me. She'd made that clear. I rolled over, pulled up my laptop, and opened the article again. Jackson Reese's face stared back at me, smirking like he knew something I didn't. My hand shook as I saved the photo. She could hate me all she wanted, but I wasn't going to let her walk into a trap, not yet. I just needed proof and a plan. I couldn't shake the photo of Jackson Reese. It sat on my laptop screen every night, his smirk mocking me while Lillian's words echoed in my mind. "My other dad is better than you." I'd stopped being her father. She'd made that choice, but I couldn't stop being the guy who'd raised her, not when I knew something was wrong. Samantha caught me off guard a few days later. I was in the kitchen, staring at a cold cup of coffee, when she walked in, arms crossed like she'd been rehearsing. "We need to talk," she said, her voice sharper than usual. I didn't look up. I wasn't in the mood for her guilt trips about Lillian running wild, about what I asked, keeping my tone flat. "About you? You're letting her do whatever she wants, Paul. She's out all hours, and you don't even blink. What's going on?" I set the mug down slowly, deliberately, and met her eyes. "She told me I'm not her dad," I said. "You didn't argue. Why should I keep pretending I am?" Her face went pale, and for a second, I thought she might bolt. But she didn't. She sank into a chair, her hands twisting together. "I need to tell you something," she said, quieter now. "About before. I knew what was coming. I'd felt it for years, that shadow between us." "Go on," I said, leaning back, arms folded. She took a breath. "There was someone. 10 years ago, when things were bad. You were working late all the time, and I was lonely. It didn't last long, just a few weeks. But Lillian's yours, Paul. I swear she's yours. I didn't move. My chest tightened, but I kept my face stone cold. Then why is she calling some guy dad? I asked. Why'd you let her believe I'm not? Samantha's eyes dropped to the table. I was mad. We'd had that fight, remember? About money. I threw it in your face once, said maybe she wasn't yours. I didn't mean it, but Lillian overheard, and I didn't correct her. She was little. I thought she'd forget. Then she started asking questions, and I just let it sit there. I stared at her, the woman I'd built a life with, and felt nothing but ice. She'd planted that seed, watered it with spite, and now it was choking me out. You let her think I'm a lie? I said, my voice low. For years. I'm sorry, she whispered, tears welling up. I didn't think it would go this far. Please, Paul, talk to her. She needs you. She doesn't want me. I snapped, standing up. She's got her other dad now, and you let it happen. I walked out before she could say more, my hand shaking. Sorry didn't fix this. Sorry didn't erase the hole she dug that night. I followed Lillian. She'd been texting nonstop, sneaking glances at her phone like it was a lifeline. I'd seen the pattern out late, back later, always with that smug little grin. I needed to know who this Jackson was, face to face. So when she slipped out at 9 p.m., I grabbed my keys and followed her. She took the bus downtown, and I stayed a block behind, headlights off when I could manage it. She got off near a dive bar, the kind with neon signs and guys smoking out front. I parked across the street, watching her check her phone before heading toward a guy leaning against a wall. He was tall, lean, with a leather jacket and a smile I recognized from that mugshot. Jackson. I couldn't hear them, but I didn't need to. Lillian lit up, bouncing on her toes like a kid meeting a rock star. He said something, and she laughed loud, free, in a way she never did at home. He handed her a soda casually, but I saw the way his eyes flicked over her, sizing her up. It wasn't fatherly, it was predatory. They talked for a few minutes, him constantly touching her arm and leaning in way too close. I tightened my grip, but stayed still. She made her choice. She chose him. Then he showed her something on his phone that made her gasp. She hugged him, and I swear, it was the same smirk from that picture. She left after that, heading back to the bus stop. Jackson watched her go, then made a call, pacing like he was closing a deal. I stayed put, waiting. When he finally walked off, I started the car, but didn't follow. I'd seen enough. He was real. He was here, and he had her hooked. Back home, Samantha was waiting, her face puffy from crying. Paul, please, she started, but I cut her off. I'm done fixing your mess, I said, brushing past her. Upstairs, I locked my office door, pulled out the recorder I'd bought weeks ago. Jackson wasn't just a ghost in Lillian's head anymore, he was a threat I could touch. And I was going to bury him. I'd had enough of waiting. Jackson wasn't just a voice on Lillian's phone anymore. He was real flesh and blood, and I'd seen the way he looked at her, like she was a prize, not a daughter. Samantha's confession had lit a fire in me, but not the kind she'd hoped for. She thought I'd swoop in, play the hero, patch up our family. No, I was done begging for a place in their lives. This wasn't about fixing things, it was about ending a threat. I spent days planning. That recorder sat on my desk, a cheap little thing I'd picked up for work meetings, but it was all I needed. Jackson was a con man, and I'd pieced that together from the article, the forum posts, the way he moved. Guys like him thrived on trust, and I was going to use that against him. I pulled his number from Lillian's call log, stared at it until I couldn't anymore, then dialed. Yeah? His voice was smooth, cocky like he was always expecting a win. This is Paul, I said, keeping my tone flat. Lillian's father. I choked on the word, but it didn't matter, he'd get the point. There was a pause, then a low chuckle. Oh hey man. She's told me about you. What's up? I know what you're doing, I cut in. And I want her gone. She's not mine anymore. She's yours now. How much to make that happen? He didn't hesitate, straight to business. Huh, I like that. Let's say $5,000 cash. She's worth it, right? My stomach turned, but I kept my voice steady. Fine, meet me tomorrow at 8 p.m. in the parking lot behind the old warehouse on 5th. Bring her if you want. I don't care. Deal? He said, and then hung up. Too easy. He thought he'd won, thought I was some desperate fool ready to pay him off. Perfect. I called in a favor next. A guy I knew from work, Thomas, had a cousin on the force. I didn't tell him everything, just enough. Some creep's messing with my kid, I said. Caught him on tape. Can you get someone to listen? Thomas didn't ask any questions. By noon, I had a name, Detective Henry, and a promise she'd be there if I had proof. That night, I barely slept. Samantha tried talking again, cornering me in the hall. Paul, please, she said, her eyes red. Lillian slipping away. You have to stop this. She slipped away when you lied to her. I shot back. I'm handling it my way. She grabbed my arm, but I shook her off and locked myself in the office. I wasn't doing this for her, maybe not even for Lillian. This was for me. The next day dragged. Lillian was out again. I didn't ask where. At 7:30, I drove to the warehouse, parked in the shadows, recorder in my pocket. Henry texted me in position. Get him talking. I nodded to myself, checked the battery, and waited. Jackson pulled up at 8 o'clock sharp, headlights cutting through the dark. He stepped out alone at first, then waved at his car. Lillian climbed out, hesitant, her backpack slung over one shoulder. My chest tightened, but I didn't flinch. She'd see this through. Paul, right? Jackson called, strolling over, hands in his pockets. Where's my money? I held up a duffel bag empty, just for show. Right here. But first, tell me what you're planning. I want her gone for good. He grinned, stepping closer. I hit record. Oh man, you're making this easy. Kid's got dreams, wants out of this dump. I'll take her off your hands, set her up somewhere nice. She trusts me, thinks I'm her old man. Few months, she'll get me whatever I need, cash, contacts, then I'm out. Done it before. Works like a charm. Lillian froze, her eyes darting between us. What? She whispered. Jackson laughed. Relax, kid. It's just business. He turned back to me. So, we good? Yeah, I said, tossing the bag at his feet. We're good. That's when Henry moved in, 2 cops behind her, lights flashing. Jackson spun, swearing, but they had him pinned before he could run. The recorder was still rolling as I handed it over. You set me up, Jackson snarled, cuffs clicking on his wrists. I didn't answer. Lillian stared at me, pale, tears streaking her face. I didn't look back. Henry took my statement quickly. Good work, she said. He's got warrants. This will stick. I nodded, numb, and watched them haul him off. Lillian stood there, shaking, until a cop guided her to a car. She'd be home soon, but I wasn't going with her. Samantha was waiting when I got back, frantic. Where's Lillian? What happened? She's safe, I said, rushing past her. He's gone. That's all you need to know. Paul, talk to me. We can fix this. No. I cut her off, turning sharply. We can't. I saved her. That's it. I'm done. She stared at me, mouth open, as I walked upstairs. I had one more move to make, and it wasn't for them. I couldn't sleep after that night. Jackson's voice on the recorder, bragging about using Lillian, played over and over in my head. I had stopped him, but it didn't feel like a victory. Lillian's face in that parking lot, shock, tears, betrayal, stayed with me too. She'd seen the truth, but she hadn't run to me. I'd saved her, yes, but I wasn't her hero. Maybe I never had been. The next morning, I moved slowly, deliberately. Lillian was still out. Henry had called, said they kept her overnight for questioning, and then dropped her home at dawn. I heard her come in, her footsteps heavy, the door slamming shut. Samantha was downstairs pacing, probably waiting for me to fix everything like always, but I was done carrying their weight. I went to the garage first. Lillian's guitar was there, propped against a box of junk. A cheap acoustic she'd smashed months ago in a fit over some roll. The light had set the neck cracked, strings dangling. I'd meant to toss it, but never did. Now, I grabbed my tools and got to work. Hours passed, glue, clamps, new strings. It wasn't perfect, but it would play. I tuned it by hand, each note a quiet stab at something I couldn't name. Samantha found me there mid-afternoon. Paul, she started, her voice shaky. Lillian's upstairs. She won't talk to me. What happened last night? I kept my eyes on the guitar, tightening a peg. I took care of it. Jackson's gone. The cops have him. She's safe. She stepped closer, wringing her hands. Thank God. But what now? She's a mess. We need to. No. I cut her off, setting the guitar down and standing up to face her. There's no we. I'm done, Samantha. Her brow furrowed. What do you mean? I pulled the papers from my jacket, divorce forms I'd printed days ago, and signed that morning. I'd been thinking about it since her confession, but last night sealed it. I handed them over and watched her eyes widen. I've been a father, I said, my voice steady. 16 years. I gave her everything. You turned her against me, and I still pulled her out of that mess. I'm not doing this anymore. I'm done being a fool. She took the papers, her hands trembling, and shook her head. Paul, no. We can work this out. I messed up. I know I did, but we're a family. I corrected her. You broke that. Not me. I stepped past her, grabbed the guitar, and headed inside. She followed, pleading, but I tuned her out. I'd heard enough apologies to last a lifetime. Upstairs, Lillian's door was shut. I could hear her inside, soft sobs muffled by a pillow. My chest tightened, but I didn't knock. She didn't need me barging in, not now. Instead, I set the guitar carefully against her door, making sure it didn't fall. It wasn't a speech. It wasn't a hug. It was what I had left to give a piece of her I'd fixed, even if I couldn't fix us. After that, I packed a bag, clothes, my laptop, a few things from the office. Samantha watched from the hall, tears streaming down her face, but she didn't try to stop me. Where are you going? She asked, her voice breaking. Somewhere else, I said, zipping the bag. You keep the house. Lillian needs it. I'll figure the rest out. I slung the strap over my shoulder and walked downstairs. She didn't follow this time. The car was cold when I got in, the engine rumbling to life. I sat there for a minute, staring at the house. 16 years of memories, good ones, bad ones, all tangled up. Lillian's first bike ride, Samantha's laugh before things went wrong, that photo on the mantle I'd turned down. It wasn't mine anymore. Maybe it never had been. I drove off. No plan, just motion. The road stretched out, empty and quiet, and for the first time in years, I felt free. Not happy at least, not yet, just unburdened. Lillian would be okay. She'd hate me for a while, maybe forever, but she'd figure it out. Samantha would too. They didn't need me to hold them together. I'd done my part. Back at the house, I knew Lillian had found the guitar. I wasn't there to see it, but I pictured her picking it up, running her fingers over the strings. She'd strum it, maybe a faint note cutting through her tears. She'd know I'd fixed it. No, I'd been there one last time. That was enough. Samantha stood alone in the living room, the papers crumpled in her hand, staring at the space I'd left behind. I didn't look back. I kept driving, the town fading in the rear view, until it was just me and the road. Whatever came next, it was mine to choose. Dear listeners, please share your thoughts in the comments section below and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.